What's going on, y'all? I'm your host, Paco Elijah, and you're tuning in to Liberty Watch. This is our 6th episode, many more to come. This weekend, we hit 10,000 likes on the page, so be sure to like it if you haven't already. Share the page. We got to keep spreading the message of liberty, but the fact that it's growing is definitely a good sign. I want to jump into the big story today, major story. U.S. Supreme Court abortion ruling. Supreme Court strikes down Texas abortion restrictions. Pretty much, the state of Texas was trying to put up more barriers, make it harder for women to access abortion care. The petitioner, or the plaintiff in this case, was Whole Women's Health and also the Center for Reproductive Rights. And some of the restrictions I just want to list here real quick, and I'll post up the link as well. The petition calls on the U.S. Supreme Court to decide on the Texas legislature that imposed the following abortion restrictions. One was doctors who do abortions must have formal admitting privileges in hospitals. Also, abortions, regardless of the term, must be done at full-featured surgical centers only. At the moment, there are only 8 clinics of this type in a big state like Texas. And the other abortion clinics that did not meet this requirement are required to have costly upgrades. Okay, the state of Texas here argues that making abortion harder for women was not the intention of the legislation. It said that the laws were created to uphold women's health. And Justice Stephen Breyer, he basically stated that it was a burden on their constitutional right. And that's what I want to get in when we're talking about abortion. As far as with this case, I don't believe there should be any restrictions on any type of health care or medical care. And abortion is a tricky case, and I know very, very divisive when it comes to libertarians. We fall on all sides of this issue, and but what I want to get into is the constitutional right. So yeah, there should not be no restrictions on any type of health care or medical care. The government should not even be involved whatsoever. But is it a constitutional right? Do you have a constitutional right to abortion? Or I'm hearing people even say an individual right. And they always say a woman's right. Well, we don't have rights as groups. So there should be no such thing as women's rights or men's rights. It's an individual right. But at the same time, just like you don't have a right to an education, you don't have a right to health care, you don't have a right to a job, you don't have a right to abortion. Okay, the government not supposed to be getting in the way of your medical services and making it harder for you to access clinics. But at the same time, the government is not supposed to be ensuring you clinic access to a certain clinic or access to a certain clinic that provides abortion care. That is not your right. You have a right to your life, to your liberty, to your privacy. You have a right to see the doctor of your choosing. You have a right to go to any office or clinic that you want without the government holding you back. But there is no constitutional right to abortion. And I think that's where we get mixed up and we get confused, even as libertarians, or even when I hear the libertarian candidates or Gary Johnson up there talking about abortion. We're sending the wrong signal. We're sending the wrong message that, and we're confusing people when we're talking about individual rights, because you really don't have a right to anything. You just have a right to your freedom, to your life, to do as you choose. But there should be no type of funding when we're talking about abortions. Now, these clinics, claim that they get private donations, so that's fine. If private people are going to donate to this cause, then let them donate and let the market handle the situation. I think personally, to solve the abortion problem, we need to privatize it. Just let the market do its thing. If you believe in it, you want to take part in it, you should donate to it. Donate to those clinics, help out in any way that you can if you really believe in it. But don't go to government and have government fund these operations or these abortions, because a lot of us are not for it and we don't believe that it should ever take place. And in my personal opinion, when you say you have a right to abortion, you have a right to take a life, you're basically saying you have a right to an executioner. You don't have a right to a third party. You don't have a right to someone. You don't have a right to someone's services. Again, it's individual rights. You have a right to yourself, to Be as you be whoever you want, go wherever you want, and engage in a free marketplace. But you don't have the right, and the government can't ensure that you have a right to an abortion. Uh, I personally see it as murder, but I feel like we live in a society that's not a moral society. We have a big part of the population that agrees with abortion. So therefore I see the compromise as what Ron Paul said. Let the states handle it. And really, in my view, the states shouldn't be getting in the way. They should just let the market handle it. What we should be doing is we should be defunding Planned Parenthood. We should be getting the taxpayers out of it. And then not only that, get the government out of our health care. We need to repeal Obamacare. Get the government out of the business of subsidizing insurance companies or giving insurance companies guaranteed customers. If we get out of the way, we take away all the barriers, take away all the regulations, let the chips fall where they're made. You know what's going to happen? The private market is going to turn on abortions. And then what's going to happen is that people are going to find that there's other answers, there's other avenues that you can take. There's going to find out more information about the procedure, also more about the side effects that happen to women after the procedure. And then I believe less of it will occur. Now, another really important aspect when we're talking about abortion is the economic side of it, because a lot of surveys and studies out there say that apparently a lot of people get abortions because of economic reasons, and I can definitely believe this. Now, why don't government address that? And by addressing that, I mean, why don't they get out of the way, because they're causing it. So if we have big government causing more and more poverty, more and more people are poor, more and more people are without jobs, then of course it should be no surprise that more and more abortions are being done. Okay, so if we get government out of healthcare, we get government out of corporate welfare, and we can do so many things. Get rid of all these high taxes, these high regulations on businesses. If we can just get government out of the way, then we can pretty much get rid of poverty, I believe, or at the very least cut it down a whole lot. And if people have jobs, people are prosperous, they have their freedoms. We have better entrepreneurs, better businesses out here that are not in bed with government, more businesses, more private owned businesses that are not getting corporate welfare. If we have this going on, we're going to have more of the public, more Americans employed, more of them working, and they're not going to have to turn to these type of actions, things like abortion, to get rid of a mistake, or because they can't afford to feed their child, or they feel like there's no other route. That's important. We got to recognize that. But if government's going to be there to continue on with big government policies and continue on with corporate welfare and keep the type of marketplace that we have, where it's rigged and the government picks the winners and the losers, and so many of us suffer, and so many of us are working jobs with a dead end where you're not getting really good pay, you're not really getting good benefits, no real way to move up. It's not hard to understand why some people think, oh well, shit, I got to go have an abortion. That's really the only avenue that I can take. Now, at the same time, people need to be responsible. I do believe a lot of this occurs because of economic reasons, but at the same time, we also have to believe in personal responsibility. You had your right, you have your right to choose, and you made your decision. And when you lay down and you had unprotected sex, then you know what could come from that. So, I think there's a lot of discussions to be had when we're talking about abortion, but as far as a libertarian view, I think it's very important that we recognize that government is creating this problem. Government is confusing the idea of what it is to have rights. This is not an individual right. You have a right to be left alone, and you have a right to engage in a free marketplace when it comes to your health care. And unfortunately, because government is getting involved in every avenue, and now we have to go to the Supreme Court and waste more time and energy on this, they just continue to make things worse. We have to recognize that they're the problem, and that if we get more and more government out of the way and out of our health care, then more and more of us can independently make these decisions on our own. And if those clinics want to continue to do that, and those people want to continue to have those services, then all of them can get together and put their money where their mouth is, and they can fund it and ensure that it keeps them going on. And the rest of us don't have to take place in it. whatsoever, whether it's through government subsidies or whether it's directly funding Planned Parenthood. And that's pretty much where I see it. I think if we privatize abortion, we're going to see it go away. And if we address big government policy and we have a better economy, better monetary policy, more jobs, then we're going to see that also help in getting rid of that problem. And maybe in the future, people will look back on it and discuss in disbelief that we actually used to take part in that inhumane act. All right, so in some more news here this weekend, if you guys didn't catch it, Fiorina was campaigning for Rand Paul's Senate race, which is pretty awesome and also ironic because they were going against each other for a while there in the presidential race. I recall in the debate, if I'm not mistaken, Rand Paul calling her out because of her hawkish views, and I think she was talking about no-fly zone with Russia or bombing Russia. And I think he was calling her out on, having World War III, pretty much. Her and Chris Christie, if I'm remembering it correctly. I could have it wrong, but I believe that's what he was calling her out on. Now, I have a little quote here, and I'll post up the article. During their mini presidential debates together, Fiorina said there was always a moment when a candidate has an opportunity to say something important. Quote, there were some candidates who let those moments pass by. They didn't say what they really believed. They didn't take advantage of the opportunity to educate and inspire, she said. And I saw Rand Paul never miss a moment. And she's right about that. That's a good point to make. Now I'm obviously not a fan of her at all whatsoever. She really didn't defend liberty. I don't recall her talking about constitutional rights, individual rights, and really having a change to anything that currently goes on now. But it's always good when these type of folks, they have to either pander or they genuinely change their mind and have a change of philosophy. Now, I don't really believe that's what it is, but for some reason, she's defending Rand Paul. She's helping to get him elected, and that's always a good thing. When these people on the other side of the aisle, these people that we call neocons, rhinos, people that are really liberals, if they're going to come out on our way and they're going to promote our ideas of liberty, whether they mean it or they don't, I see it as a good thing because we're pushing them. We're forcing them to at least pretend for a moment that you're for liberty. But in doing so, all it does is help our cause and get more people, win more people over. Just as long as we don't compromise on our principles, but if they're going to come support us, then hey, so be it. That's great. We should see all of the candidates supporting Rand Paul in his Senate race. And it should tell you something when they're not. All the things that he's done, as much as he showed up, in regards to his voting record compared to some of the others like Rubio and Bernie Sanders. But I know some people got mixed feelings on it and were confused on why she's campaigning for him and why he's speaking with her. But hey, the more the merrier. We got to get spread the message of liberty. And if these politicians are going to come out talking liberty, then at the very least, we got to take that as a good sign because we're forcing them to promote the liberty message. Even though that they don't really stand for it, they don't have a record of defending it, it's still good when we force them to say it. Yeah, you need to let the people know that I'm standing up for individual rights. And she's right that Rand Paul never missed a moment. Every time he had a moment, he slammed all of them. Slammed her, slammed Chris Christie, slammed Trump before anybody would even lay hands on Trump. So it is good that they recognize that. More people need to recognize what Rand Paul did. He was the only one up there willing to call out every single one of them individually to their face. Literally. I mean, I don't think there was one candidate that he missed. Maybe one or two, but for the most part, he exposed all of them. He really did. And man, I miss definitely seeing him in the debates. They definitely weren't worth watching when he wasn't in it anymore. Also, more Rand Paul news. He does endorse, coming out of Iowa, Dr. Christopher Peters. I'll post up the link to his Facebook and his website. We got to definitely help out these liberty candidates. I love it when Rand Paul or Ron Paul come out and endorse these candidates because it gives them a little bit more name recognition. Gives them an opportunity to come across more people, more donations. And we as liberty voters, we got to put our money where our mouth is, and we got to support these people that are backing our cause, the freedom message. But Dr. Christopher Peters is a veteran, a doctor, and a small business owner running for Congress in Iowa's 2nd District. And I always think it's a good sign when we get somebody who's not from DC, who hasn't spent a lifetime being a politician or getting a paycheck from, tax dollars. It's good. Another doctor, a veteran, small business owner. Let's get more of those type of people in office, because apparently it looks like doctors are doing better than politicians at defending the Constitution. It's Rand Paul and Ron Paul doing a better job than all of them put together. But yeah, drpeters4iowa.com. I'll post that up for you guys as well. Also, more Liberty news here from Thomas Massie. After Brexit, Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie wants Amexit, so America exit. I'll post this link as well, McClatchydC.com. But Thomas Massie wrote on Facebook, "I'm a co-sponsor of H.R. 1205 to get the U.S. out of the UN." And I know a lot of us, especially libertarians, we want to get out of the UN. We want to get out of the NATO. We want to get out of everything. Some of us want to opt out of the federal government. Some of us want Texas to succeed. Probably want other states to succeed. We just want to opt out of everything. We want our individual liberty. So definitely cheering on Massie in this. It's called the American Sovereignty Restoration Act of 2015, basically to end membership of the United States in the United Nations. And also, you'll like this here. It states, the United States nations, including any organ, specialized agency, commission, or other formally affiliated body of the United Nations, may not occupy or use any property or facility of the United States government. That's right, kick them all out. We don't want them here at all. The bill was assigned to the House Foreign Affairs Committee after its introduction on March 2nd, 2015, but is unlikely to make it to the floor. So, we can wish upon a star. We can put it out there, but it's good to know that we do have some congressmen, some liberty candidates out there, or congressmen out there that are really fighting for us. And eventually we need to get this on the floor. We need to get this to pass, because we need to get out of the UN, out of NATO, out of all of these alliances. Now, I want to jump to some good news before I let you guys go here. Coming out of Idaho, permitless concealed carry in Idaho passes. It takes effect July 1st. So what's today, 27th? Well, we got like less than a week. And it should take place. It says, in Idaho, it is currently legal to openly carry a firearm without a permit. Once the law goes into effect on July 1st, 2016, Idaho would join the other states that have permitless concealed carry, which is Alaska, Arizona, Kansas, Maine, Vermont, Wyoming, and West Virginia. Many other states are also working on similar legislation, and the list is likely to grow. Now, I got this article here from, I guess, local news in Idaho, and it states here, ask Policeman Dan, changes to carry conceal law. So it kind of goes over a little bit, so I just want to touch a little on it. It says, so what is the change with the new law? The person must be 21 years of age, an Idaho resident, and is not disqualified from having a permit. This also applies to only a concealed handgun. If it is a knife over 4 inches, or any other weapon requiring a permit, then a permit must still be secured. The constitutional carry law applies to only Idaho residents in the state of Idaho. You still can't carry a gun on government properties. Federal property, courthouses, jails, and juvenile detention facilities, private, public, primary, and secondary schools are also places where one cannot carry a gun on their person. To dispel any myths, under current law, anyone qualified to carry a gun 18 plus years of age can do so as long as it is in plain view or open carry. No training is required at all to carry out this Second Amendment right. The change will be that they can cover it up as long as they are 21 or older to get a 21 years or older. To get a standard permit, hardly any training is required. As a matter of fact, taking and passing hunter's education qualifies one to get the standard permit. So I always say I'm in favor of no gun laws, no regulations, no permits. Pretty much it's what your mom and dad say until you get outside the household, and then you can carry a gun. So that's how I look at it. But we have to rejoice. We have to spread the news whenever we have good news to keep us motivated, to see that in some areas in the country, we are winning battles with the Constitution. We are winning battles when we're talking about individual rights. We are getting closer, and that's the idea, is that we want to move closer to that to that point where we're totally free, where we totally have the Bill of Rights completely. We have all of our rights. We have small government, but in the meantime, it's going to take time for us to get there. We as libertarians, I think, recognize that. Now, I personally wish it would hurry up and happen overnight. I wish we could be free right away, but these type of battles we have to keep pushing for and keep fighting. And in places that where we live, like where I'm at in California, we gotta try to fight the laws out here. We have to try to get our. I think out here we can't carry open carry or concealed, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's just some of the strictest laws out here in California. But I think it's always good news when we're getting closer to the Constitution. So in here, if you're over 21 years of age in Idaho, then pretty much you don't need to have a permit to conceal it, to cover it up. You can carry it, walk around with it. But then again, they also say you can't have it in certain areas like federal properties, courthouses, jails. But the way I look at it is like, you're not supposed to be violating our rights on public property whatsoever. Any type of courthouse or anywhere, we should be able to carry in there as well. I mean, the cops that walk in there carry, and if the people that work there want to carry, they should be able to as well. But again, I'm glad we're getting closer to it, and I'm glad for Idaho, and I think people that live out there should practice this right. But at the same time, I think it's important that we recognize that we should be able to carry on federal grounds. We should be able to carry anywhere that's public grounds. We should not be able to carry on private property when the private owner doesn't want us to carry. So if there's a restaurant, there's a business owner, there's a shop, there's a mall, whatever, and they don't want guns on their property and they want to turn their place into a gun-free zone / killing zone, or they want to hire their own security and they be the only ones carrying guns, then fine, that's on them. And they should be able to take away your right to do so on their private property. And if you don't like it, you have the right to leave, take your weapons, and go elsewhere. Now, it also says that certain weapons like knives and things are over 4 inches still require a permit. But I look at it like, you have the right to bear arms, any type of arm, any type of protection, any type of weapon that you can use to defend yourself. Anything. The government should not be telling you what you can or cannot carry, as long as everyone else can do the same. And I think when we realize that an armed society is a polite society, more and more of us are going to wake up to this idea that people carrying guns, people carrying knives, it's not really that radical. It's not really that crazy. It should just be looked upon as people practicing their rights and people wanting to defend themselves and people wanting to deter criminals. And when criminals see more and more people walking around with their weapons out, with their weapons concealed, whatever the case may be, when they know that more and more people are armed, more and more households are carrying, when they know more and more laws are being repealed when it comes to gun control, then they're going to wake up and they're going to think twice before they commit these acts of violence and these robberies. And then all of us win. It's better for all of us. And it might even be better for the criminal, because maybe he'll realize he needs to go get a job. Or maybe he needs to help us spread the message of liberty so we can get more jobs, get a freer market. And maybe he might do something different, something positive to turn his life around or to keep him from doing that. So I think more gun rights, more guns is a good thing for all of us. So that's the show for today. Until tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, as soon as I can get some material together, I'll keep you guys updated. Don't forget to like the page, Occupy the Media, the website, occupythemedia.com. Definitely got to keep spreading the message. And I'm out. Peace.